All right. Hello, good morning, good evening, and good night. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic because today we're going to be looking into YMAX because it had this negative 2.11% drop today. And so did the rest of the market. The market was down roughly about 2%. This obviously impacts our investment in YMAX. And I want to talk a little bit today about what kind of losses we experienced in my brokerage account, because on this channel we talk a lot about the upside. We talk a lot about the dividends, the fantastic dividends we see from the market, the fantastic appreciation we see in terms of our investment growth. But what we don't really talk about is the downside. And the downside is extremely important because how we manage the downside will ultimately determine whether our investments come out in the positive or we kind of screw something up. So what I want to talk about today is I just want to go over what exactly my losses are, because if you're also invested in YMAX, you're most likely feeling these losses as well. I want to talk about where I seen big hits in the underlying and where Yieldmax really fell to a negative 2.11% loss today. And we'll kind of compare it to other cover call strategy, synthetic cover call strategy ETFs like XDTE to see how YMAX XDTE2 high yielding ETFs match up against the S&P 500. So if that does sound good, we're currently up to 5,964 subscribers, very slightly continuing to grow, 424 subscribers in the past 28 days. Thank you to everyone who subscribed. I really appreciate it. We're getting closer and closer to that 6,000 barrier. That is awesome. Not a barrier, but something we're going to break through. Let's get it. So today I was actually going to add about $1,500 more to my brokerage account, but I decided not to because I didn't want to show you guys, oh, okay, look, the market's down, but my account is higher than it's ever been before. No, I want you guys to see the losses that I incurred today, and I want it to be super clear. My account is now under $25,000. Kind of cool, kind of crazy. What I deposited, I'm still up about $700 in my account, roughly about 2.8%. I deposited about $24,250. So you can see here I'm still up overall, but my account was previously trading at about $25,750. And this is all because YMAX and the market has gone down over the past couple days. You could see here, even the past 5 days down 2.3%, the past month 5.4% down. And this is nothing new. When YMAX has a down day, if you're invested heavy in it, you're going to see big losses. Today, for example, a $620 loss, which was a negative 2.3% loss on the day. And I want to show you guys this because investing is not a straight line. It's not you just put your money in and it continues to grow. Sure, I could potentially put money in and my money will continue to grow, but there's up and down periods. There's rocky roads with investing, and it's very important to be clear on your strategy before you put in huge amounts of money. Because if I wasn't super certain that I wanted to invest in YMAX, if I didn't have a strategy for buying YMAX, then I might look to sell when I get down, or I might look to sell when I have these huge down days because I'm unsure of my investment. But I'm very sure of what I'm doing. I'm buying YMAX and buying roughly $1,500 consistently, and then I'm buying heavy in my margin account when I see huge dips and big opportunities within YMAX. And of course, YMAX is no different than the S&P 500. Of course it is, but what I'm saying is the S&P 500 also down about 2% today. Same thing with XDT, although XDT held up a lot better, only down negative 1.64%. Now, why do I bring up YMAX and XDT? Because XDT is a S&P 500 zero date to expiry cover call strategy, which writes synthetic cover calls on the S&P 500. I kind of view it as something similar to YMAX, even though YMAX really holds about 24 underlying ETFs. But XDTE really invests very closely with the S&P 500. It invests directly within it, or is invested within the price returns because it's synthetic. But just to kind of compare the two to show like, okay, YMAX down 2%, XDT down 1.6%. But why was YMAX down a bit more? There's certain stocks, of course, YMAX is heavier in certain stocks than it would be in XDT, for example, because you have the diversity of 500 different companies, whereas YMAX is only 24. We've seen some big losses in YMAX today. The first one being TSLY, only down negative 2.3%. I seen TSLY today and I was like, oh, okay, it's down negative 2.3%. But then I looked further into it and I seen NVDY down negative 4.38%. And you have to remember, this is why I buy YMAX. I believe it's somewhat correlated to the S&P 500. And you could see here, even though some Yieldmax ETFs down 2.3%, down 4.3%, YMAX only down about negative 2%. And I've only seen down days in YMAX as big as negative 2%. But when we look at YBIT, down almost 6%, 5.90%. And then Coney, a huge down day, almost 12% down. When you're taking these huge down days in a Yieldmax dividend, or Yieldmax ETF, it really hits hard on the strategy because you're taking a lot of the downside. And then potentially YBIT or potentially Coney could have a day where the underlying appreciates 10% because of all the share price depreciation that it just incurred, but yet it's unable to capture it because Coney will capture all of the downside, but it might not capture all the upside. It's limited to about 5 to 15%, which is a general rule across all Yieldmax ETFs. That's why I choose to invest in YMAX. And that's why, you know what, when I see a dip like this, I actually get a little bit excited because you know what? When I see this dip, it means that I'm going to be able to buy YMAX at a better price. Of course, I do believe that over time, YMAX's share price might slowly start to trend down. And you see that here when the S&P 500 is slowly increasing. That's our best kind of idea here. We see YMAX kind of stay stable and flat. Of course, when we see big moves in the S&P 500, we see YMAX actually increase over time. But I think as a long-term outlook, I do believe that YMAX is going to roughly trend about sideways to down because it does pay out 60% in terms of dividends. But I get really excited on these days because although sure, down roughly about $430 in YMAX, that presents me with a potential buying opportunity in the $16 area, which I could then look to exercise and lower my average cost. I do believe the market will continue to trend higher with time, as do YMAX. And so I will hopefully be receiving a lot more dividends for a better share price and collect more along the way. So that's kind of my whole strategy here, just to kind of go over, and really this video was just to go over the losses that I incurred today, just to show you that, you know what, you're not alone. This happens to everyone. When you're investing, there's great days and there's bad days, but you should really be looking and prepared for the bad days in order to pick up more of your favorite investments. So if this video kind of helped you out, maybe it was more like a moral video for you or emotional video for you, just to kind of keep yourself straight. Understand that you need to have a strategy and a plan in place in order to take advantage of these opportunities and not self-sabotage yourself when these opportunities do present themselves. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, many more to come. We're up to 5,964 subscribers. I appreciate everyone who likes this video and subscribes, sticks around to the end. I love you guys. I appreciate it. And I hope to see you guys in the next video.